Hello, everybody. Welcome to my YouTube channel, Carlo Levi Minzi. Sorry for not being around for a while, but I have been quite busy, and I hope you join me once again. This channel is devoted to classical music, and I hope you're going to appreciate good music, and this is the aim of this channel. Welcome to this, and don't forget to subscribe and have your friends subscribe. Ask everybody to subscribe to this channel to be able to continue working on this subject. Today we're talking about something really technical, but I hope I am able to explain to everybody who is not not professional, and hope to be able to give you an idea of how difficult is the work of a classical pianist, especially in a world where everybody tries to play and doesn't play what's written. Today we're talking about the basso continuo. What is that? In the old age, when piano was not existing yet, and the ancestor, which was called harpsichord, was was prominent, and in that period, when the harpsichord was playing with another instrument, maybe a violin or a cello or other instruments together, the composer didn't used to write the whole part of the harpsichord, but only the bass line, and the harpsichord was supposed to fill with chords according to a science, the science of harmony. So he knew how to fit properly, and this practice was called basso continuo. So we have many sonatas by Corelli, Handel, etc., etc., for instruments and basso continuo, BC, which could be double. So not only harpsichord, but also maybe a guitar playing the bass, or a cello playing doubling the bass line, and the harpsichord playing the lute, which was an old guitar, playing the chords. This is what basso continuo is. Later, the harpsichord started playing also a thematic line. So what happened was that while the harpsichord was playing a part, was playing the whole thing, but while just accompanying, there was just the bass line, and the harpsichord player knew how to fill with the right chords. This practice lasted very long, much longer than what you think. When Bach started writing harpsichord concertos, actually he transcribed other concertos for harpsichord, the harpsichord was playing the solo part, and while the orchestra was playing what they call the tutti, everybody playing, the harpsichord was still playing the basso continuo, filling with chords. So basically, the harpsichord was playing always. Sometimes the main part, and sometimes accompanying the orchestra. This practice was still quite common, and continued throughout the 18th century. So we have when the piano was invented. Remind you that the piano was invented by an Italian maker by name Bartolomeo Cristofori, in 1698 and patented in 1700. And therefore, but became popular only in the second half of the 18th century. At this point, we had the first piano concertos, concertos for piano and orchestra. Mozart was the champion of this generation and wrote some 27 piano concertos. And in those concertos, the basso continuo practice was still alive. In other words, the piano was playing the solo part as well as the bass line together with the orchestra and the filling with chords, as said. Pianists tend not to play the continuo because this practice was abandoned with the following generation. And so they thought that it was somewhat old-fashioned to do this, while this was not correct. And I'll show you. Also, Beethoven used to play the basso continuo, and we know very clearly, I'll show you now. But there are only few recordings related only to the first of his piano concertos, in which you can hear a pianist playing the basso continuo. I have the feeling that I have been the first one to resume this practice also in later concertos. Now I'll show you something. This is what I have here, is the first edition. Can you see it? I hope so. Of Beethoven fourth piano concerto, concerto number 4. You can see, now I'll show you. This is it starts very difficult to say. Yes, you see, at the beginning, the piano plays a solo part. But now, look here. Here, you have the orchestra, and the piano has just the bass line. You see, the bass line is written bold, while this is just a guide, tell you what's happening in the orchestra. But the pianist must feel chords there. You see that the bass is in a bold character, while the orchestra is in small characters. So you see that the pianist should play also there. Nobody does it. But you might say this is just what they call a guide for the pianist. At the time, the pianist was not playing by memory and was reading the score. So, and he needed to know where he was. Well, I'll show you now Piano Concerto number 5. This is also the first edition. You can see it. I am not very good on this, I apologize, but this is the Piano Concerto number 5. And you see that at the beginning, even here, the pianist plays alone, playing alone, you can see. You see they're playing alone. This is a part alone. But finally, you see where they're written tutti. This is the orchestra. But now look, and we have the bass line. Look here. I hope you can see that there are small numbers on the bass line. Can you see it? Okay. Those numbers are the chords that the pianist should play. Exactly represent the chords. And those chords are exactly why, for instance, Beethoven didn't write it in the in the in the fourth piano concerto and wrote in the fifth. He had written. Hold on 1 second, please. I forgot to take another score. Now show you. Number 1. Here we are. This is a score. I always go the wrong way, of piano concerto number 1. This is the first piano concerto he wrote, and here you can see the numbers here. You see the numbers there in the bass line, means that the piano should play together with the bass, but this is a modern edition, so the bass line is not written down in the just to go back. I said that Mozart was doing the same things, and we can see it. It was not. Let's see whether I find it. Here it is. We have Mozart, a major piano concerto. This is another concerto. In this modern score, always the wrong. This is the previous generation, but you see, where are the numbers? Let me see if I find the right place. Here we are. Try. You see the numbers? You can see the numbers. These are not the official numbers. These were added by the publisher. But this shows that the chords should be played. Very few pianists do it on Mozart. There is one only, to my knowledge, there is one only performance of Beethoven's piano concerto number 1 with the continuo, how is said in proper English, the figured bass, and figure, of course, the figure are the numbers, and there are only, to my knowledge, one only performance of the first piano concerto, and no performances of the others. You see that Beethoven didn't write the numbers on number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, just put the bass line, but wrote the complete figure for piano concerto number 5. Let's go back to piano concerto number 5, which is this one. And we see that he continues writing. Let's see whether I find more numbers here, for instance. Let's see, let's go further in another, here, another page, just to make sure. He does it consistently. Throughout the whole, you can see the numbers. He does it consistently throughout the whole piano concerto. I think you are going to ask yourself why Beethoven didn't write the numbers for piano concerto number 1, 2, 3, 4, and did it for piano concerto number 5. There is an explanation. There is a very easy explanation, which I think it's right. At the time, Beethoven was also a fantastic pianist. Everybody says that. Unfortunately, we don't have recordings. At the time, there were no recordings of of, of nobody. So we don't really know how Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Liszt, all great pianists, Brahms himself. Brahms, we have one, a very late one, but nothing we know about fantastic pianists who were composers also: Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Liszt, Mendelssohn, who was a fantastic pianist, who had studied with a student of Beethoven's. But we know nothing about this. But we know that Beethoven, who was a fantastic pianist, played and conducted the first 4 piano concertos. He did it by himself. He did it. He could do it because he was a fantastic pianist. But unfortunately, Beethoven had a problem. He was becoming deaf. He started feeling the first symptoms around 1801, 1802. But by the time he had written Piano Concerto number 5, he was too deaf to be able to perform himself. So the concerto was performed by another pianist by name Friedrich Schneider. So he wanted to make sure that the man was doing exactly what he intended. So he wrote the complete figure. He wrote the whole thing and decided to make sure that Friedrich Schneider could perform the right way. Namely, means that he didn't trust him so much. So that was the story of the basso continuo. I have performed Beethoven Piano Concerto number 4 with the basso continuo for the first time 3 years ago. This is was completely new to me. I had started to play the basso continuo in Mozart concertos years ago. I had already started, and also I have performed and conducted in the Mozart and Beethoven style was concertos, and I had started to play the basso continuo, which helped a lot because since you, as a conductor, you cannot move your hands too much because you are playing. At this point, if the players in the orchestra can listen to you, you playing the basso continuo, they know how to go together, and so you don't need. At the time, there was no conductor most of the time, and therefore the orchestral player had to follow the pianist. So the use of the basso continuo was also aimed to have a guide for the players. So there was just a performing practice, and also there was a practical reason for it. So I used to play the Mozart concertos with the basso continuo. I had started many years ago. Even if I was not the first in Mozart, because many players who tend to play with historical instruments had started long before. This practice, except for the one performance of Beethoven Piano Concerto number 1, as I said, is not common at all in the following concertos, if known. Therefore, I have the feeling that my performance of Beethoven Piano Concerto number 4, which took place in May 2018, was the first, if the only one, if not the one of the few, if not the first, performance resuming this important practice, which was completely neglected throughout years. Question is why there was this practice and why it was abandoned. Let's go further. The generation which followed Beethoven was the generation of the called Biedermeier style. What was it? The Biedermeier style was a style in which basically the soloist, the pianist, the violinist were imitating the singer, so they were becoming real soloists, real what we call in Italian prima donna, the first woman, the person singing on stage, the woman singing on stage. So pianists were imitating this, and were becoming therefore the score was becoming more and more difficult, technically difficult for the performer. At this point, if they were playing this difficult music, they could not in any event join the orchestra. They must front the orchestra. So there was the tutti, all the orchestra, and the solo. So the pianist was no longer playing the basso continuo. So they started with Hummel, Kalkbrenner, the first famous composer who wrote Biedermeier concertos was Chopin, and of course, since then, the practice of the continuo disappeared. Mendelssohn wrote piano concertos, and there was no basso continuo, of course. But still, in the young Mendelssohn wrote a concerto for violin, piano, and strings, and in that concerto you still have some numbers. Later, he wrote 2 piano concertos, and numbers disappear. This is the story. So basically, Beethoven was still old-fashioned. He was not a piano virtuoso. He was a great pianist, but was not a prima donna. Didn't intend to be, and his music didn't intend to be like this. So to neglect the performance of the basso continuo in this music is wrong, historically wrong, stylistically wrong, and must be resumed. You can, I hope you can listen to my performance of the Beethoven 4th Piano Concerto and find out the difference. In case, what you can do, if you want, you can compare with some other performances on the YouTube and find out how different is this story. And I hope you will enjoy this possible comparison, and you'd like to understand what's going on. So don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel to listen to good music, and to listen to not only to my music, of course, to listen to good music of various performers. There are many who are good, and I hope that you can learn how to appreciate this kind of music, and which is the first aim of this YouTube channel. What else? The basso continuo is just one of the various criteria of what is called philology. Philology is that science which tries to resume the good habits in music. Philology means to resume the original text, which quite often is altered by editors. So, and also, so philology works in two ways. One is to resume the original text. So try to find those editions, the first edition, and to copy them instead of inventing something. Some edition called urtext, the ground text, are usually relatively reliable, but still I recommend to my students to use the first editions, which are much more reliable, even if, of course, you can have printing mistakes. And this is the first part of the story. The second part of the story is to resume what we call the performance practice. So you must learn how they used to play. Of course, we don't have recordings, but we can try to figure out at least how they used to play. And this you can do reading the books of theory, the theoretical books, which many theorists wrote, theorists and composers. Bach's son, Carl Philipp Emanuel, wrote a very important text, whose title is Versuche über die wahre Art, das Klavier zu spielen, which means essay on the real art of keyboard instruments playing. So, and that was the first important for piano, for keyboard instruments, and was followed by many. And the one which we use for Mozart and Beethoven is written by a man called Turk, and it's very important because tells us many things about the performance of the style of performance, the kind of accentuation, and the kind of performance of the small notes, etc., etc., etc. Well, this is what I wanted to tell you this time, and we are going close to the end of this live, relatively short. I don't want to bother you, and because we have said so many things, so we have said something really interesting, much more interesting, to talk about one subject every time, to be shorter, but give you an example of something interesting, rather than talking for hours and hours. I would like to thank thank you, Paniska. Oh, something J. Rosete. And thank you for joining us today, this afternoon. We are in Italy, and and it's afternoon now. It's now 3:00, 3:08 in Italy. We are in northern Italy, close to Milano. And thank you for joining us, and for liking this channel. Please don't forget to subscribe to this channel and to be updated with our release. Promise that I won't let you alone, leave you alone so much in the future, and I'll find some interesting topic to talk about, to try to make you acquainted with classical music. So once again, don't forget to subscribe and to make your friends subscribe to this channel. And thank you for listening to me, and thank you for appreciating the good music. And it's time for us to say goodbye now, and talking and looking forward to talking to you soon.